Today on All Out Brick, we're going to be taking a look at the Phantoka. We're going to build the sets, review them, and then give out a score. Let's get started. Hey everyone, I'm Christian from All Out Brick. Welcome to another Makuta Nui Monday. As always, the best way to tag along with us every week is to subscribe and turn on notifications. This week, we're going to be looking at a group of sets called the Phantoka, which were nothing more than just the name given to the 2008 winter wave of Bionicle. Phantoka can be translated to spirits of the air in the Matoran language. The Phantoka consisted of 3 Toa Nuva and 3 Makuta sets. They battled up in the atmosphere of Karda Nui against each other during their battle for power. Taking a look at the packaging, we've got 6 canisters for the Phantoka sets. They're really interesting in that they have this outer colored shell, which is the same mold for all 6 of these sets, but the color varies and that's what gives us a lot of pop. These actually just can pop right off of the Phantoka canisters, and then you have what's left is more of a bare canister, which honestly just looks like it's just missing a top and could completely pass as another canister set. The art on the front of the packaging is just some general images of the sets that are going to be inside here, nothing too fancy, and then of course we've got our age range, the set number, and the piece count. And on the back of the canister, there's nothing more than just a graphic that shows how you can put the Shadow Matoran or Matoran of Light on top of the Phantoka sets or on their backs and create this nice little combination. The only other thing to look at back here is the weapon functions for the different Makuta and Toa sets. You all have been leaving a ton of comments about where the Phantoka review has been. Well, guess what? It's here. I'm really excited to see what we have on our hands. I've never built them before, but the expectations are pretty high because all of you guys have been really asking where this video has been. So hopefully you didn't pump them up too much, but let's find out and knock out these builds. Okay, so 45 minutes later, I've completed all 6 of the Phantoka builds. Now, that was a little bit longer than I thought it was going to be, just a little bit. I thought it was going to take like 30 minutes. It wasn't like a challenging build or anything, or super boring, nothing like that. It just ended up taking a little bit longer. The way we're going to split this up, we're going to talk about the Toa, then we're going to talk about the Makuta sets, and then we'll talk about them overall. So let's jump right in with these Toa. At first glance, the first thing that strikes me about these Toa sets is I wish that there was a little bit less gray throughout these 3 models. There's just the overall looking, you have some big bright highlights, and I think it's the most notable with Lewa. You know, he's got these green big punches, and then there's just a lot of gray. With Kopaka, okay, it works. Pohatu, not a big fan of it either. Just wish we got some more actual, like, good colors in there to their regions and not just general gray. Taking a look at Kopaka, his mask mold is awesome. I absolutely love this thing. The wings too on the back, I think these are what really draw my eye to this set. Aside from, of course, the Sky Blaster has some added little details to the front of it. I think the function of leaving the arms both attached to the Sky Blaster, not the greatest decision by LEGO, I think, because it just really restricts the movement of Kopaka's arms if you have both of his hands attached. And yeah, that's something to expect a little bit, but when I tell you it's really restrictive, you really can't move it around at all. So I think they were better off to just left it in one hand. Popping on over to Lewa, I had some stability issues with this set, and I think it was just due to some friction in the joints not really being there. They're a little bit older joints, of course. I mean, we're almost 15 years ago at this point, 2008, and they are the lime green ones, so I'm sure there's some small little brittle cracks inside these joints. So aside from some little issues with stability, I really liked that the shoulders have a couple different pieces going on. We have these weapon pieces, then we have these jetpack pieces. I was pumped up when I was putting it together here. Also, the sword on his left hand, his weapon piece, love it. The mask mold, again, really good job. It brings some homage back to those original Toa sets. I just can't get by with my eyes that his feet are gray as well, and I know it sounds silly. I swear I'm not Quentin Tarantino or anything like that, but the feet being gray, normally we always get that in color for our sets. I don't know why they got to be gray in this one. And the last Toa that we've got here is Pohatu. To be honest, I still cannot wrap my head around the fact that he has orange colors now. Why are we not using tan or brown? Makes no sense to me, LEGO. Doesn't make any sense. The shorter appearance, I think, is a good thing for both the variety with the line and a new build. I think when I was getting Kopaka done, then Lewa, I was like, all right, third Toa a little bit here, but it's shorter. There's a lot of different styles in here compared to the other two Toa, so it's a fresh new build, and I think it works because Pohatu, we're so used to him being the shorter Toa, not as short as Onua, but we were used to him being a little bit shorter. Pohatu's got a function that's different from the other Toa in that they just have their Sky Blasters. Pohatu can spin this one piece on his forearms. It's on each of his two forearms, and it creates this propeller and shield action towards the front of him. You can even use them as a weapon. I think the friction on these, again, a little bit inconsistent, and they don't really stay in place too well. They like to just fold up on each other instead of really being 180 degrees apart and creating that full shield effect when it's spinning. But, you know, can't have a perfect set here. There's a shoulder-mounted Sky Blaster, which is pretty nice in theory, but to be honest, it's pretty heavy on the rest of the model. I will say, though, the joint that it's connected to here is cracked, so that's probably affecting it a little bit as well. But I think you put the 4 ammo in there and the Sky Blaster, and it's just too heavy to just be sitting on top of the shoulder like this. I think it needed a little bit of extra reinforcement. One last thing that I really do like about these Toa sets is that the mask molds succeed in paying homage to the OG Toa. I think you look at these masks and it's very clear who they are. We've had some other sets in the past where it doesn't really make it super clear, and I think with these ones, they really did a good job with that, and it's just, for a character development standpoint, you just like to see paying homage to those old masks, but bringing something new to the table with these fresh new designs. And now moving on to these 3 Makuta sets, I think they absolutely crushed their looks. I instantly feel their power and their presence, and just that the fact that these are going to be some tough enemies to go up against. They just take up a lot of space. They're very spread apart, especially their arms. They just have a lot of these weapon pieces that create this extra space that they take up, and it just gives them such a large looming presence. And man, they look fierce. Pray for the Toa Phantoka. They also bring this new function where you can launch a Chirox pod out of their chests, which holds some shadow leeches. I mean, you want to talk about some intimidation factor right there. You're walking up against one of these guys, and they fire this Chirox pod out of their chests, and then the shadow leeches come out of it. I mean, man, oh man. Good luck. Let's take a closer look at Antroz first. You can convert this guy between both standing up and being pounced down. I like him better when he's pounced down because it's just got like this really ferocious dog look to him. But when he's standing up, the guy takes up a lot of space. The dark red pops enough and complements the black pieces throughout the set very nicely. The mask mold fading between black and dark red, executed very well. I know it's just like a little style, but hey, it was done nicely, and it just, again, gives us this infected vibe, and you immediately see it, and you cannot mistake it for something other than a villain. He's also got these large weapon pieces on his shoulders that just add a lot of dimension to the model. I think without them, you'd be looking at something a little bit more flat. These make all the difference in the world, I think, these 2 large pieces. Glad that they included them. As for Vamprah, he's very similar to Antroz, minus the ability to stand up. His feet are very similar to one of those Shadow Matoran, where in that video, you guys said I actually stood him up incorrectly, and that, maybe should be given an award for getting him to stand up on his feet like that. But this guy clearly is supposed to be on all 4s, other than when he's flying through the air. And I think just he's got a little bit smaller of a look. This one just not as big, but man, those arms are loaded with weapons. You want to talk about if you get anywhere near this guy, he's got something to take you out. And last but not least, we got Chirox. I'm not 100% on that pronunciation. Once again, just a very large presence. This guy just exudes shadow with this new all black look and the sparing silver highlights. The way that it was done, you just know. You see him right away, there is no mistaking him for anything other than this big, bad villain. This guy is going to tear you up. He's got these large wing pieces on his back shoulders. His arms are what's taking up a lot of space. He's got some nice bulky legs, some cool pieces there. Good mask mold. And then, of course, he's got the pod in his chest to absolutely launch at you. What more could you want from one of these Phantoka villains, huh? I'm real pumped up about these Makuta sets. I wish this is what we started with 2008, having done them. You want to talk about getting off on the right foot? These Makuta sets are going to do that for you. I really, really like the 3 of them together, and individually, they each have their own to bring to the table. Very nicely done. Overall, when you take a look at all of these Phantoka sets, pretty clear to me, I like the Makuta ones better than these Toa sets. I think they just shine a little bit brighter. No pun intended. I do like how the Makuta sets bring this new function to the table. I know. These sets actually should have been one of the first that we saw in 2008, so at that point, the Sky Blaster would have felt brand new still, and whatever. But anyways, still, we're this far into 2008, and these are still the only ones that have that function. So I think it's pretty cool that they have something a little bit different for the play feature. And while all the sets do have a positive impression to me, I do still wish that we got a little bit more color with these Toa sets. I'm just so used to, and especially, I mean, you think to a couple sets we had previously, and even just when we had, even we just did Voltraz, and he was just fully loaded with color. So it's just a little hit and miss here of what LEGO's going for at this point. Personally, I wish we got a little bit more colors in here. I know the gray works with Kopaka, but when you jump to Lewa and Pohatu, I think they should have some different colors going on there. One compliment I do have to give this series of sets is that it branches itself out very nicely from the other ones in this year so far, especially those Mystica sets, because that's kind of how we're going to be split, because our Toa 3 and 3, Makuta sets 3 and 3 with the Phantoka Mystica. This definitely sets themselves as just being Phantoka sets. I don't think I would look at any of these, and I mean, maybe you could for the Toa a little bit, but they got those wings, so that's going to really show that they're the Phantoka ones. And the Makuta ones, I don't think I would think of any of them as swamp creatures like we got with the Mystica sets. I think these are definitely their own individual beasts, and I really like that they managed to separate it. We're so used to getting the 6 and 6 with good guys, bad guys, whatever, and this time we have like these different groupings and these 3 and 3, and I really like how that played out for these 2008 sets so far. In terms of pricing, the Phantoka sets don't vary as much as we've kind of seen with some other groups of 6 sets, because normally there's like one favorite character that's way higher up than the others. That didn't happen here. Generally, you're going to be able to find them all in used condition for about $25 US each, and if you want to bump yourself to a brand new sealed version of these sets, you could get them for around $100 US each. It's going to fluctuate a little bit, but not too much. Honestly, I think that's a pretty fair price, especially used condition. I mean, sealed condition, sure, $100. Say what you want about it. I think for collecting some of these sets with the canisters are tough to find in this condition. Not bad. But used condition, $25. You want to think about some of the LEGO sets that are getting released today, like that Iron Man figure or just some of the other construction figures. They're like $30 sets. So when you look at one of these and you think, okay, $25, it's kind of on pace for probably what I think these sets would be released for. They would be, most certainly, they'd be $20 if they were released today. So I don't think $25 for used condition is too terrible, as long as you can get them in good condition. Again, we're going to be dealing with the construction of these parts and these cracked pieces. I had a couple, not too many, and maybe that's what attributed to a little bit of that loss of friction throughout some of these models. But as long as you can get yourself some good joints, used condition for $25 each, I think it's a great way to go. In terms of a score, I'm going to give the Phantoka a 7.4. I did like them. I like what they brought out in this new 2008 vibe with the 3 and 3. I did like it. I'm not over the moon about these sets. The Makuta sets I do really like, and I think I would put those above a 7.4 for sure. But the Toa sets, they just feel a little bit forgettable to me. They don't stick super hard, and I'm just left thinking about those Makuta sets, and I think if they could have done that for all 6, okay, now we're talking a much higher score here. But they're good sets. I don't have anything really to knock against them other than the fact that they could maybe use a little bit of upgrades with some colors. Well done, LEGO. So 7.4, that's your review. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, be sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel to be the first to see all of our future content. Also be sure to check us out on our website and on our Facebook and Instagram pages. Until next time, stay bricking.